Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the February 23rd City Council meeting to order. Council President DeMichelle is joining us remotely, and Councilmember Nichols is excused. For those curious about the presence of Marshmallow Fluff, this is Victory Fluff you're seeing on the dais. We will get to this later in the meeting. But yes, 12 Issaquah won its bet with the city of Somerville in Massachusetts, and we're very proud of our Fluff. Let's open tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. I welcome you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And for proclamations tonight, we can proclaim that there are no proclamations, which will move us straight to special business. ID 1963, Issaquah Youth Advisory Board update, is being delayed to a future council meeting, which gives us our next item of business, IB 1980, the 4th of July Commission update. I'd like to invite the 4th of July Commission Executive Director, Janie Boob, to present this item.
I learned from the last time. Good evening. My name is Janie Bube, and I am the Executive Director of the 4th of July Commission. Thank you, Mayor and Council members, for having me tonight. I am presenting to inform the City Council of updates regarding the 4th of July Commission. You can do the next one. Thank you. There we go. Okay, so some background. To celebrate Issaquah 250 and foster and strengthen community pride, the Commission has decided to turn what normally is a one-day event into a 3-day event. The Chalk Art Festival, which is normally at the end of July, has been moved to Thursday, July 2nd, and we're adding a new event on Friday, July 3rd, which I'll mention in just a second. And we're continuing with Issaquah's tradition of the 4th of July parade on Saturday, July 4th. We're also doing an art project, and this is to commemorate the 250th. And we have commissioned a glass mosaic artist, Cheryl Smith, who has created other beautiful pieces around Issaquah. As you can see here, there are 3 pieces demonstrated. She will create a mosaic experience that will engage the community through several outreach events around Issaquah, and we're hoping that the inviting of participation truly helps us create a piece that represents Issaquah's people and place to highlight the 250th. And the artwork will then be placed in a location that is viewable by the public for years to come and will be determined later. The Chalk Art Festival, this event will kick off the weekend of festivities. People of all ages come together to express creativity by drawing with sidewalk chalk on the pavement around the community center. And we decided to move this event to encourage the community to stay locally and stay in Issaquah and to enjoy a weekend of outdoor fun. And we're hoping that this will create a buzz around the 4th of July and really keep people here. The Wagon Makerspace, this is a new event for this year and something that I'm personally very excited about. We wanted to create a new element for the parade that encourages participation and is sustainable for future parades. This is instead of making a vehicular float, we're promoting a handheld pull wagon like what you would see a family taking to the beach. We are hoping that these wagons reduce the barrier for participation, and we invite all individuals, businesses, organizations, companies, nonprofits to decorate a wagon representing their personal history and Issaquah 250. The Wagon Makerspace event is a place for people to come to work on their wagons, meet the judges for the wagon contest, and network and socialize with fellow community members. This will either be at the Senior Center or Community Center, and that's also going to be determined later. And on the next slide here, you can see photos and examples of what other cities have done for different events, different parades, but around the country to really engage the community and get, in this case, a lot of kiddos involved. For the 4th of July, day of, we're expanding what we have offered in the past. It's very exciting that the Parks Department is allowing the farmers market to be on that same day and to be moved to Memorial Field. So the market and the vendors, food vendors, will be in Memorial Field that day. The parade will be its usual time, 10 to 11, starting at Confluence Park and then ending at Pedestrian Park. This is a slightly longer route than last year. And we're hoping to have many more participants and elements in the parade this year, continuing with the idea of a band, so having a band, horses, the wagons I had mentioned, and then other performers and other elements. There'll also be a family fun event and picnic again after the parade, and the programming for that is still being determined. And then later in the evening at Vasa Park, they will be hosting their Illuminating Hope Fireworks Show, which is free to the public in Bellevue. So for sponsorships, we are looking for sponsorships this year. We have 4 levels available. We'll be reaching out to the community to do this starting in March. And the lowest level is at $250, and the highest is at $5,000. And then today, we slightly changed the mid-levels, so, or we slightly changed the gold and platinum. So gold is now $1,000, and then platinum is now $5,000 instead of $10,000. So if you had seen the presentation earlier, note those changes, please. Then participation, so we're looking for parade entries, we're looking for wagon entries, we're looking for volunteers, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all 3 days, and then of course, sponsors. So many different ways to participate. And what's next? Starting in March, we are organizing meetings with all the departments and major players to stay on top of all the logistics and the details. And we will start reaching out to sponsors in March. We're hoping to finalize our budget in March as well, and then the wagon and parade entries will open in April. And there's still many details to work out, and there's still a lot of different logistics, but we're really excited to have turned this one-day event into a 3-day event to particularly celebrate the 250th year of the United States and then Issaquah. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Are there any questions for Janie? All right. That was excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Curious if, is the council going to have a council wagon? No, not decided yet? Okay. It's now time for public comments. Council made in person or virtually. Those of you signed up in advance will be called on first. If you're joining virtually, please raise your virtual hand or send the host a chat message. Those on the phone can do *3. And if your room did not sign up, there will be an opportunity for you to raise your hand if you'd like to speak before we close this portion of the meeting. And City Clerk, is there anyone signed up to speak for general audience comments?
Yes, David Banks, who's here in the room.
All right, come on up. And please state your name and relationship to the city. Thank you very much, David.
Okay. Hi, I'm David Banks. I live in the South Cove neighborhood. And I have been looking forward to the opening of the Tesla chargers on Gilman Boulevard in front of the Barnes & Noble. And I'm noticing here that the permit for that facility was filed in May of 2023. They started construction in 2024. They finished construction in 2025, and there's no sign that they're ever going to open this place. And so I've been just waiting because it's one of the little things that could tip me into getting an electric car. I'm excited about them, but I'm thinking there aren't enough chargers. And Issaquah doesn't inspire any confidence because, for example, the chargers over at the Fairfield are overnight chargers, and the other ones are just one here and there. But this Tesla station, they're the absolute best Tesla chargers they make. They support all kinds of vehicles at super high speeds, and they're never going to open them. How do I know? Because I went to the North Bend version of the charging station, and a Tesla employee was there who I said, what's going to happen in Issaquah? And he said, we're probably going to yank them out because we can't work with the permit process. It had to do with the city of Issaquah and Puget Sound Energy. But I'm super disappointed because I've been looking forward to an electric car future, and it feels like, well, from his attitude, that the cities are just out to block them, and because the process of getting them approved and getting the power connection done is so difficult that it wouldn't be worth the effort to try again to install an electric charging station in Issaquah. And I don't know. I just want to make sure that that's out there on the table. If there's anything Issaquah can do to salvage this project, I would appreciate. I have nothing to do with it. I'm just an observer. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. And if you wouldn't mind, David, maybe leave your contact information up here so we can follow up with you tomorrow. And that'd be really helpful from our.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
There are a few folks, members of the public, who are with us virtually. If you are interested in making comments, if you could use your that little hand icon on your screen. All right, so it looks like Corby Kassler would like to make comments. Corby,
All right.
I'm going to make you a panelist now. You should be able to unmute and can choose to turn your video on.
Hi, I'm Corby. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Issaquah Association, and I apologize that my video camera does not work, but I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to comment tonight. We do have an open house this Wednesday from February 25th, starting at 3 o'clock. We have an annual meeting from 3 to 4, a joint committee meeting from 4:15 to 5:30, and then a volunteer meetup from 6 to 7:30. And all of these events will take place in the Issaquah Library Meeting Room. So we'd love to have you for any or all of these opportunities. The annual meeting will be more about accomplishments from 2025 and what we're planning to do in 2026, as well as just a few exciting announcements that we will be making, and opportunity to answer any questions. The committee is more about roll up your sleeves and talk about what we're going to be doing around our 4 Main Street pillars, and the volunteer meetup is all about getting to know more volunteers, people who want to sign up or want to be trained in Main Street approach or about DIA. We're happy to accommodate them. So we're hoping to see some of you or all of you on Wednesday, the 25th, again from 3 to 7:30, and there's more details on our Facebook page. So thank you very much. I appreciate your listening.
Thank you very much, Corby. City Clerk, how are we looking for other folks?
Yeah, it looks like we have one other commenter. Rick, in response to your message, we do not read public comments received by email aloud, so if you'd like to address the council, you can certainly do that. I'm going to go ahead and give you the ability to unmute if you'd like to make comments.
Hi, thank you for allowing me a chance to speak. Thank you, Mayor Mullet and City Council, for your time. My name is Rick Schul. I'm the pastor of Faith United Methodist Church located in the Klahani neighborhood, and I'm a resident of Issaquah with children in the Issaquah School District. I apologize that I can't be present with you this evening. I'm actually traveling out of town. But first, I want to say thank you. I came before you all last fall with an appeal for greater care for our community in light of the fear-inducing actions of immigration and custom enforcement agents. I asked you to be present at the Dia de los Muertos celebration at the community center, and it was really encouraging to see you and so many of our broader community there, along with rapid response volunteers surrounding the event. And so just thank you for listening and responding with care for your community. Secondly, I want to address what happened at the student-led protest that took place in our city on February 9th, especially since my name and image has been shared online, strangely enough, to be both thanked and ridiculed by the critics of the student-led protest. I was observing the protest on the steps of the city hall as a parent and a community member. I did not see the 2 women confront the teenagers with multiple cameras, but I've seen the videos since, as many have. When the confrontation escalated from bumping to shoving to hands and hair pulling, I quickly ran across the street to de-escalate and to separate. I initially attempted to move the woman at the center of the melee to the other side of the street, but she insisted to go back into the crowd to look for her phone. I went with her in order to keep my body between her and the students until I convinced her to leave the phone behind and walked her down the sidewalk to where a police officer was approaching. The whole episode took about 90 seconds. Not one student hit me or touched me in any way. I did receive a little collateral silly string, but I was able to recover with minimal effort. I was disappointed to learn a day later that the women who confronted the students were online political content creators. I had witnessed a well-led, peaceful protest for nearly an hour until they were confronted by these women. After the altercation was over, the protest went on peacefully for more than another hour. In fact, many of the students had no idea that the confrontation even happened until videos were being shared online. But as a result of this confrontation becoming the central story of the day, people who are not a part of our community are now interlocked in a vicious cycle of online doxing, harassing, and violent threats with children in our community. And the result of all this is simply more and more fear. And I understand what it is to be afraid. I've shared with you before how I was beaten by a state trooper during a traffic stop for a failure to appear in court for a littering case. I couldn't understand why an armed officer was continually slamming my head into a car for what was ultimately a mistake in paperwork. It wasn't until later that another police officer saw my situation, apologized, and told me that it was because of the color of my skin that I suffered such a disproportionate and violent reaction from that state trooper. That happened over 20 years ago in another state, but a part of me will always be afraid. That fear is exactly why our students were practicing their First Amendment right that day. They were speaking out because their friends, classmates, family, and community are afraid that they will not get equal treatment under the law precisely because of the color of their skin. They are speaking out against ICE and the lack of due process for our neighbors because they know fear. And this is the message that should not be missed in all of this. I stand behind our students and their right to assemble and to voice their fears and their concerns. Finally, I want to say thank you to the police department who acted that day. Thank you for your patience and presence, as we know the actions of one heckler or bad actor does not invalidate the First Amendment right of all those present. I was glad to see that the protest was not disrupted by law enforcement. This is my community. As best as I can, I will continue to show up for my neighbors and my community. I will always act to help de-escalate and bring peace. I love this community and I love my neighbors. I do not know how to alleviate all of our fears, but I know that we cannot do it without deep commitment to each other and to building stronger relationships in our community. And I am so committed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Rick. City Clerk, is there anybody else?
No one else online is indicating a desire to speak.
Anyone else in the room want to speak? Not seeing anybody. That will close audience comments. Just as a reminder, you can submit written comments to citycouncil@issaquah.gov. That moves us to the next item of business, which is the consent calendar. I do not have any remarks on the consent calendar, but committee chairs, anyone want to have any remarks on the consent calendar items? Or any member of the council? Okay, not seeing any. The consent calendar is distributed to the council in advance. If authorized, the items on the consent calendar will be considered together and approved by one motion. Have the payables and payroll been reviewed?
Yes.
They have.
All right. Does any council member want to remove any items from the consent calendar and consider it under regular business? Not seeing any. I will ask for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor Mullet. I will move adoption of the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
There has been a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. And that passes unanimously. The next item of business is regular business. It's Agenda Bill 9137, Amendments to Council Rules and Procedures. Our city clerk, Tisha Geezer, is going to present this item.
Hello, City Council. Just share my screen real quick. All right. Yes, so I'm Tisha Geezer, and I'm here to present AB 9137, which is Amendments to Council Rules of Procedure. All right, so there's a twofold purpose tonight. One is we are suggesting that the council form an ad hoc committee to consider some revisions to your rules, returning to the full council with a recommendation at the May 4th meeting. And then the second purpose is to give you a sense of some of the things on the list we've compiled to be considered for amendments to your rules, and see if you have any other areas you'd like considered, or if you have any, strong viewpoints that you'd like to share about in advance of the committee diving into these potential amendments. So a little bit of background, the City Council sort of overhauled their rules in 2018. At that time, ad hoc committee was convened to help, kind of give a look at the entire rules. Since that time, so they were adopted in 2019, there have been 2 additional ad hoc committees, one in 2021 and one in 2022. And typically an ad hoc committee has been formed when there are either significant changes or many changes. As you know, the council has also periodically made minor changes to the rules. Most recently, you made some revisions to your appointment process when there's a vacancy. And what I think is wonderful about this is I think the rules, by and large, are being followed and are consistent with how you work. And you've done a really nice job of keeping them current and maintained. But we do think there are a few things to take a look at this year. So, and these have come from the City Council, a few of them, and then there are a few staff suggested areas as well. So in your council packet, there was a list of 23 items that were sort of either things the council has brought up, or I sort of maintain a list of things just that come up from time to time where we're maybe a little misaligned with the rules or could provide some better clarity. I'm going to go over the first 9 because they are what I would consider more significant. And then there's many kind of lower level items that are about clarification or alignment with current practice. So on this slide here, we have the first one is looking at community listening sessions. This was something that council was really interested in when the rules, I can't recall if this was the initial draft or if this occurred during one of those ad hoc committees, but it seems like it might be worth just relooking at those and seeing if there should be changes made. That is a staff suggestion. The second item is the new business request process. This is a council-motivated item. We heard at your January 31st retreat, there was some interest in relooking at that process, which is very spelled out in the rules. The third item is regarding committees. So during the mid-biennium budget adjustment, there was some discussion around forming an an audit committee of the council as a standing committee. And so we'd like to get some additional council input on whether that warrants formation and what that might look like. Number 4, we heard at the council retreat some interest around a social media policy. That is a very relevant thing to include in your council rules, but there's not anything currently in them addressing that. Number 5, the council has a travel policy, but it's in a resolution from 2008, which makes it difficult for both staff and council members to remember. And so I think it could be beneficial to review that policy and then consider adding it to the council rules. Moving to the next slide, a few more here. Number 6, agenda placement. This is really relates to the new business request process. They kind of go hand in hand. So I think it warrants, if the council's going to look at the new business request process, I think it makes sense to look at how items are added to the agenda. Number 7, audience comments. The city attorney and I do have some concerns over the current guidelines and feel that some of that could be challenging to enforce. As well, some other local agencies have gone away from requiring folks state an address, and actually the council's practice is to not really require that. So suggest some minor changes to true that up. Number 8, we'd like to revisit how seniority is determined for the council. And number 9, the council has also a unique provision in the rules that when you abstain from voting, it's considered a yes vote. And I think that could be of interest for the council to review and consider if that's something you'd still like to keep in place. And then, as I mentioned, there's a number of other items that are more minor in nature that I'm not going to go over tonight. So again, we're suggesting an ad hoc committee be formed to provide input on the rules per your rules. An ad hoc committee can be appointed by the council president or a majority of the council. I think it would be beneficial to, if the council approves establishing a committee, to consider making the appointments tonight. In the past, so as you saw, there have been 3 ad hoc committees on the rules. Typically, we haven't had public comment at these committee meetings, which means that they haven't had to fully comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. This has given us a little more flexibility in meeting locations and timing. So that is what I'm suggesting tonight. We've been very diligent in documenting the decision-making and recommendations that have come out of those groups and would be committed to doing that again, but wanted to make you aware, and if the council wants to do something differently, you could specify that in the motion. My best guess is that this would take about 2 to 3 meetings to work through in March and April, with a final recommendation by April 30th. And then, as with really any ad hoc committee, the committee would be dissolved after making their final recommendation. A note here that the chair of the committee could be determined tonight or could be determined by the committee at their first meeting. So again, tonight, we're looking for 2 things. One, council's consideration to establish an ad hoc committee, and the motion is in that beige slide. And then also, if there are any additional areas of the rules you'd like the committee to look at, or again, have anything you'd like the committee to consider regarding any of these areas I've covered tonight, please share. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, are there any questions for Tisha? Okay, not seeing any. I think the sequence here is, first we're going to ask for a motion to create the committee. If that motion passes, then we'll then move for who might be on said committee. Is there a motion? Council President DiMichele?
Thank you, Mayor Mullet. I am looking for the motion, sorry.
Oh. Deputy President Martz?
Barb, if you don't mind, I'll move to establish a council rules ad hoc committee to consider changes to the council rules of procedure as identified in Agenda Bill 9137, returning to the full council at the May 4th City Council meeting with a formal recommendation.
Thank you,
There's been a motion.
Council President.
And Councilmember Walsh?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Walsh?
Thank you. I highly support this and would be interested in serving on it, as I have discussed with council leadership. I would like to propose 2 additions based on my experience on the council. The first is to Section 2.04, appointments. We continually have council make an exception to our rules in order to appoint council members to standing committees, because we have been very structured on whether or not leadership can be on multiple committees, who can chair, whether or not chairs can be on other committees. And I think we have, over many years, realized that maybe that is a little bit too strict. So I'd like the ad hoc committee to look at that. And then the other point that I think would be interesting to look at is 6.01, the standing committees. We had mentioned an interest in a finance and audits committee, but we haven't decided whether it's separate or included in an existing committee, and thus it hasn't been added to our rules. And then another thing I've discussed with other other cities' city council members is that some of them provide a legislative advocacy committee, and I think that might be something that, as maybe an ad hoc or a temporary committee, could be interesting to council members. And so I wanted to propose both of those as we are looking at potentials for what our standing committee makeup might be.
All right, excellent. Any other discussion? Councilmember Adair?
I just want to echo, since obviously I was not here before when it was originally thought of, but an audit and finance committee as the CPA, I think is very wise to form, and just wanted to voice my support for such a committee, because I do think, especially as budget cycles are coming up, that would actually be a very wise thing to consider.
Councilmember Jang?
Yeah, I want to echo what Councilmember Adair said. I also really like Councilmember Walsh's suggestion of having a potential, state legislative advocacy committee. I know, it seems like, given the nature of the way that our state legislature works, it's very short and very quick. And I think to the extent that, there might be certain council members who would like to be more engaged with that process rather than simply just being, informed by our government affairs person once a week, I think it would be great to have, a group for those folks who are interested in that.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Okay, not seeing any. Motion for the council is to establish a council rules ad hoc committee to consider changes to the council rules and procedures as identified in Agenda Bill 9137, returning the full council at the May 4th City Council meeting with a formal recommendation. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that passes unanimously. The next item of business is yes, we're doing that next. Sorry. The next item of business is looking for a motion to nominate members. And I'm going to look to Deputy President Marks.
I didn't know if we needed to do it as a vote. Tisha's shaking her head no. So we had a process whereby we solicited people to who are interested in potentially being on this committee, and I know that the council president has some thoughts on the membership and leadership of the ad hoc committee.
Council President DiMichele.
Thank you so much. Yes, appreciate the fact that we had 3 people very interested in serving on this committee. But I am, as the council president and in consultation with the deputy council president, recommending that myself be appointed to the committee along with Councilmember Walsh and Councilmember Nichols. And if she is willing, I would love to have Councilmember Walsh chair this committee.
We're seeing nods. Affirmative nods. Okay, I think that is done. So moved and voted on successfully by moving it. Okay, we're going to now go to committee reports, and we will start with Councilmember Adair.
I don't really have reports yet, other than to note I have been named as alternate on the SCA Public Issues Committee and Eastside Fire and Rescue Board.
I think, Councilmember Adair, you should take credit for within 3 weeks of you getting on the council, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. You should claim that was
That was me, pretty much, yes.
Councilmember Jang.
Great. Okay, I have 3 reports, so buckle up. So the first one was the Planning, Development, and Environment Committee. We had our first meeting of the year on Tuesday, February 3rd. There were 3 items. The first one was impact fee waivers for childcare facilities. We're proposing exempting childcare facilities from traffic impact fees because these fees can be quite onerous. We heard from a business owner who's facing a $400,000 traffic impact fee for a childcare facility serving 180 students. They're converting an existing office building to a childcare facility. So this is going to come back on regular business in the next council meeting. The committee unanimously agreed to waive 80% of traffic impact fees for all childcare facilities and 100% of traffic impact fees if at least 25% of the students served by that facility receive state subsidized childcare. The next item was reviewing the docket of comprehensive plan amendments. This is basically just an administrative thing, updating our comprehensive plan that's going to come back on consent in the March 2nd meeting. And then the last item was reviewing the 2024 greenhouse gas emissions inventory and the 2026 climate action plan update. In summary, we are not on track to meet our greenhouse gas emission goals as a city. Our world is not on track to meet our greenhouse gas emissions goals. But as a city this year, we're going to be looking at what types of climate policies we can pass locally that could move the needle. So it's going to come back to the Planning, Development, and Environment Committee for review, which is our next meeting in March. That's been rescheduled to March 17th. And there's also going to it's probably going to come back to the full council for review probably in May. So it's going to be a big topic of conversation for this year. The next meeting regionally, so there's the Eastside Transportation Partnership meeting on Friday, February 13th. We got updates from the Puget Sound Regional Council on state and federal transportation priorities, as well as a presentation from WashDOT about the state's Transportation Resilience Improvement Plan, or TRIP, which is a great acronym, especially in light of increasing extreme weather events. You know, we saw recent flooding, trees falling on cars in the Snoqualmie Valley, wildfires, et cetera. So there's going to be public comment opportunities as they work through that later this year. And finally, there was a governing board meeting for the King County Regional Homelessness Authority this past Friday. February 20th. This was basically like some business that they were supposed to do in December that got postponed to this year, including passing the budget for 2026, as well as some administrative, minor edits to the strategic plan. A lot, it's not just me who's new, it's like all new, Seattle City Council members, Seattle Mayor, new King County Executive, and so the majority of the governing board is new, and there was actually some really excellent conversation about like what the role is of the Regional Homelessness Authority and how we can be strategic in, figuring out how to use our funds towards strategies that are effective at moving the needle on homelessness. It was great to hear, the new chair of the governing board, Mayor Wilson, actually really pushing for like what types of quantitative metrics are we going to try to achieve as a group. So more to come there. We're having our next governing board meeting on Friday, March 27th, and we're having an in-person board retreat in April. So it should all be very interesting. And that concludes my report.
All right, Councilmember Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Cascade Water Alliance will be having a board meeting on the 25th. The Cascade Board Oversight Committee is starting to form, and the first meeting will be March 6th. That Oversight Committee will be looking at how decisions are made as Cascade Water Alliance considers spending millions or billions of dollars on a pipeline that will connect the infrastructure from Tacoma's water system to Cascade Water Alliance's system. That meeting is March 6th. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee met today. The committee reviewed 17 proposals, which requested $235,000 in spending. We had $50,000 in funding available. The recommendations will be coming back to council later this year. The Mobility and Infrastructure Committee will next be meeting on March 10th. Currently on the agenda are amendments to the street standards utility facilities and street standards landscaping update. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Walsh.
Thank you. Excuse me. The Services, Safety, and Parks Committee will meet tomorrow with a starting time of 7 p.m. to allow for the Save Issaquah Light Rail meeting from 5:30 to 6:30. Our topic for SSP is emergency management and the hazard mitigations report. Eastside Fire and Rescue met on February 12th and adopted our 4 board priorities for 2026. Excuse me. That includes adopting the 2027-2028 budget, since our previous budget was such a difficult situation to handle. Long-term funding and governance strategy, reserve and fund balance policies, and long-term facility needs and assessment. As you can see, we are taking on some really big items there. So looking forward to seeing that move forward. The next EFR meeting will be March 12th, and the agenda has not been established. And the ARCH, Regional Coalition for Housing Council of Elected Officials, is getting launched. Members have been appointed. We've gone through our initial interviews, and the first meeting is set for March 26th at the Together Center. And that concludes my report.
All right, and Deputy President Martz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 SCA-related items. SCA PIC met on Wednesday, February 11th. It was really essentially an orientation session for all the new PIC members, and there were a lot of new PIC members. Huge turnover, probably biggest turnover ever in my 16 years on PIC. So no actions were taken. SCA Board of Directors has its annual retreat tomorrow, February 24th, and it's actually going to be at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center, otherwise known as Seahawks headquarters. So that'll be fun. And then finally, for this body, the SCA networking event is Wednesday, March 4th from 5:30 to 8, and it's actually going to be on Mercer Island, so it's really easy to get to. This is not one of those ones that's going to break your back as a commute. 5:30 to 8:30 on Wednesday, March 4th, and you can be fiscally prudent. Early bird pricing is available through this Wednesday. I will be there, and hope to see everyone else there. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And Council President DeMichelle.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. On February the 18th, I was able to attend the Regional Transit Committee. Let's see. And in the caucus meeting prior to the meeting, we elected Renton council president and mayor pro tem, and he won the award for the longest title as the caucus chair, and council member Neil Black as our vice chair. And so those elections took place. The Regional Transit Committee is also under new leadership with newly elected Councilmember Fain as our chair of the Regional Transit Committee. And it being our first meeting of the year, we received an overview of the RTC charter, and then we discussed and developed the work plan for 2026. So that ends my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The mayor's report. We'll start with our Seahawks victory over the New England Patriots and have a report that we did win our friendly wager with the mayor of Somerville, Jake Wilson. So the agreement was that we would get a case of the infamous marshmallow fluff, which was founded many, many moons ago in the town of Somerville. And that package has arrived. It's currently on the dais. You can see it in front of you. And when we have executive session later tonight, I am promising every council member a fluffer nutter, which is peanut butter and marshmallow fluff. And Council President DeMichelle, I will bring you a fluffer nutter myself on Friday. So you will get a fluffer nutter delivered by the mayor. Issaquah's light rail community meeting will be tomorrow. So Sound Transit is considering cutting the Issaquah light rail line to address budget challenges, even though our taxpayers have been paying into this expansion for over a decade. So join us tomorrow evening for a community meeting to learn what's at stake and discuss ways you can help save Issaquah's light rail connection. A little spoiler alert, there are purple t-shirts, Save Issaquah's Light Rail, that folks who are going to be willing to show up and testify at a Sound Transit Board meeting will get a t-shirt. And that meeting will be in these council chambers tomorrow from 5:30 to 6:30. And the Sound Transit Board meeting will be February 26th from 1:30 to 4 o'clock. And so if you can't make the meeting here tomorrow night, you can always go directly to the Sound Transit Board on Thursday afternoon. And the State of the City address will be Thursday, February 26th. We'll share updates on the progress we made over the past year and outline priorities for the year ahead. Our Chief of Police, Paula Schwam, will provide an update on local community and police efforts, and Superintendent Heather Talyik will share the state of Issaquah schools. And a recording of this address will be posted to the city's YouTube channel following the event. Hope we can see folks there to discuss our accomplishments and the challenges that lay ahead of us. And that will be on Thursday morning at the East Ridge Community Church, I believe, is the location. And is there anything for the good of the order? Looking, not seeing anything. The next council meeting will be March 2nd, regular city council meeting. Yes, that is only 1 week away. And on that item, we'll have the Newport Maple to Sunset Improvement Project, the early learning facility waiver fee we heard about from Councilmember Jang, along with the Blue Fern Development fee in lieu of frontage improvement agreement. We will then have a March 9th committee of the whole meeting to talk about updating our permit process improvements and removing barriers to home building and other projects. And we will now discuss executive session, ID 1984, executive session, property acquisition per RCW 42.30.110 hyphen parentheses 1, parentheses B. The council will now go into executive session to discuss property acquisition. And executive sessions are closed to the public. We are expecting this executive session to last roughly 10 to 15 minutes. It may be extended. The city council is planning to act after the closed session as part of the open meeting. And I'm looking at the council if they need a break or we should just go straight into executive session. We are being efficient with our time. We will go straight into executive session at 7:49 p.m. and we will see you back here at roughly 8 o'clock.
of my mute position. Yeah, there we go. You guys
All right, and for those of you who are with us virtually, I'm going to move us into the practice session now. The council.
This is going to be small enough portion, it's going to leave you wanting more. You're going to be craving additional fluffernuts.
Do we have to like film us eating it for the social or anything?
No.
Yes.
Hey, we are back in open session at 8:05 PM. I'm going to invite Parks Director Jeff Watling to make a short presentation. Jeff, it's all you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yes, before you tonight is a request to seek your authorization to enter into a purchase and sale agreement for a park property. This would be known as the Hailstone property. It is directly south of Bernstein Park and near Confluence Park. This is a 0.39 acre parcel. We have been in negotiation with the sellers and have agreed upon terms. Those terms would be a sale of this property for $750,000. The purpose of this property would be for a future trail connection and an opportunity to expand Confluence Park and connect it to Bernstein Park, Salmon Run, as well as the Juniper Trail system here in Issaquah. It also provides opportunity for further riparian habitat along the main stem of Issaquah Creek, supporting our salmon recovery efforts and our education efforts as a community, and really strengthening our goals for trail connectivity throughout Old Town and the valley floor, and really furthering our Creeks to Beaks vision of connecting our entire park system. The purchase price will be funded with two funding sources. We were successful in obtaining a grant from King County Conservation Futures to assist us in this effort. That would provide roughly $560,000 of funds, leaving $190,000 of funding coming from our Parks and Open Space Acquisition Fund.
Are there any questions for Jeff? Not seeing any. Is there a motion? Council President DiMichele.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize the mayor to execute a purchase and sale agreement and other documents necessary to purchase the property located at 320 Northwest Holly Street, also known as King County Tax Parcel 20240419000728 from the Hailstone Revocable Trust for the amount of $750,000 plus closing costs.
Second.
Okay, there has been a motion and a second. Is there any council discussion? Councilmember Walsh.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment on the record just to recognize how much effort this takes in order to pull together some of these deals, and the recognition that this is a great opportunity to connect Confluence Park to Bernstein Park and all of the added benefits of that. So just kudos on working this toward what our council goals and our city goals are. Thank you.
Councilmember Chang.
Yeah, I want to echo everything that Councilmember Walsh said, and also, give kudos to Director Watling and all of the work of him, and also people, for the past 3+ decades who have really made acquiring land in the floodplain of Issaquah Creek a big priority. So, we had recent flooding last year, and, driving around after that, we saw in Confluence Park, there's giant pools of standing water, and that's really a testament, and actually not that much flooding elsewhere in the city, and that's really a testament to how our city's strategy of acquiring land for floodplain restoration is actually, a resilience to extreme weather events. So it's really exciting to see, one more piece of that puzzle coming together. This is something that takes sustained effort over years and decades. Our council, for the last probably 10 years or so, has really been saving money for these types of acquisitions so that we're able to act quickly when they come up. So very, very excited to see this happening, and hope to have more of these types of executive sessions soon. I've had 3 of these in my time on council, so it's been great.
This was your first one with a fluffernutter, though. Councilmember Adair.
I also want to echo the same of, amazing work that you've all done with your team. And just the only thing I would add is additionally your work in terms of getting grant funding and finding outside sources to help pay for these. Obviously, it helps the budget, but it's just, I know how hard that work is. And just also want to commend you for the success you've done there as well.
All right, excellent. Not seeing any other discussion. The motion before the council is to authorize the mayor to execute a purchase and sale agreement and other documents necessary to purchase the property located at 320 Northwest Holly Street, also known as King County Tax Parcel 202-404-190000728 from the Hailstone Revocable Trust for the amount of $750,000 plus closing costs. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. And that passes unanimously. And that does conclude our business today, and we are now adjourned at 8:10 p.m.
Good night, Council President.